joining. I'm really excited to share this with you. Today, we're going to go through this ninth STEM session from burnout to purpose. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about how to recognize burnout first, and then we'll go through 3 tools to help us prevent it from happening. Those are tools that I've been using for years now. So first, let's start with the basic but the most important question, which is, what is burnout? And more importantly, how to recognize it, or what is its symptoms? So would you please write in the chat, like, first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word burnout? Okay, so inability to focus. Great, so okay, perfect. So first thing, burnout, I'm just going to give a small definition before diving into how to recognize it. So burnout syndrome is an individual response to chronic work stress. So, and I really want to emphasize that it's work stress because it's not a physical, a health condition. It's exclusively an occupational or institutional syndrome. So if you are exposed to, let's say, a toxic or a very chronic stress from work, that is not well managed, that will cause burnout. And that develops progressively, so it's not something that happens overnight, and that's why it's important to recognize it early on when there are subtle, like minimal symptoms before it before it gets more dangerous. And that can become chronic, and that can cause finally some health alterations. So the symptoms here, it can manifest through 3 categories of symptoms. It can be manifested through psychological symptoms. And when I say psychological, we mean mostly things that are related to the mind, the thoughts, the emotions, feelings, things that you mentioned in the chat, like boredom and that you are overwhelmed. These things are the psychological part of it, and it can also be manifested through somatic symptoms or physical symptoms. And finally, behavioral symptoms are the way that this burnout translates into actions. So I'll go through real scenarios or inner speech that represent each category of symptoms. First, for the psychological symptoms, you can think of it like these feelings of being chronically tired or chronically feeling emotionally exhausted, constantly in a bad mood, sad. Or can you recall times when you just keep reading the same things over and over and over again and still zone out every single time and have to do it all over again because you cannot focus, you can't get yourself to remember, or being sure that you already revised that or you already read that, but still you keep forgetting the details. I mean, these concentration and focus problems and these memory lapses are also manifestations of burnout that are related to the psychological symptoms. And it can get even a bit darker because it can alterate the self-esteem of the person or self-worth. Like you start, like these ideas that start creeping, like you don't belong here, or maybe med school is not just for you. And even darker, that these feelings of guilt, you know that you are tired, exhausted, but still you're feeling guilty because you can't do anything about it. So these are the psychological symptoms, and these are the things that you mentioned in the chat because they are the most obvious ones. But sometimes it gets tricky, and these symptoms and the symptoms of burnout can go unnoticed, because here I want to move to talk about the somatic symptoms, because here when it gets tricky, and I love to tell you about two of my friends. Like these are 2 stories and recent ones. So the first one, my friend, like a good friend of mine who graduated last week, And she had these 4 really crazy months when she had massive workload. She has weekly deadlines. She's preparing for her thesis, and she had to finish her final year project. And about the last month, it gets even crazier, and she had almost daily deadlines. So the interesting thing is the last month she started calling me, and what she asked about, she was not complaining about the workload or anything, but she was talking to me and asking me like every couple of days about her symptoms. She had terrible headaches that was not relieved by any medications. She had terrible gastrointestinal problems. She get nauseous every time she eats. She had terrible pain in her stomach, and she could not eat for like a lot of days. And what she always keeps telling me after every single time she calls me, like, I'm not stressed. She always emphasizes that she's not feeling like great stress or anything, and she can sleep kind of fine. And these symptoms are the problem. I mean, she's not suffering from any stress, or she's not feeling like it's super stressful. And it gets even worse because 4 days before her graduation, she got severely ill. She had a terrible flu out of nowhere. Well, I mean, that's one person. Another person of mine who is a medical student, and we were talking a week before exams, and she was joking about her immune system like always. And she told me, well, guess who's back? And from her look, I knew that she had another infection, and it was true. Thing is, for a whole year, she had a terrible infection before every single major exams, and we have tons of exams. Like, and before every major exam, she would have that infection out of nowhere. And that's actually a lot for coincidence. That could not be bad luck every single time. So I think you get the point. Like, burnout can really show in way of like feeling tired or emotionally exhausted and bored, and you lose your motivation, all these things. But it can also show in different ways. And these somatic symptoms can be whether alone or associated to the psychological symptoms. So it can look like migraines or headaches, gastrointestinal problems. It can be neck tension or pain in your back, or sleep disorders. It can be infections that come out of nowhere. And finally, the behavioral symptoms. And here I put that symbol specifically because really behavioral symptoms can cost us our relationships. Like, it can cost you relationships with your friends or your peers if you're working. And here I can think of a regular conversation that I wanted to put as an example. When you just wake up in the morning and you decide to not to attend to uni, for example, and that's absolutely normal until you realize, or someone mentions that you were already absent yesterday or last week, and you already used all your allowed absences, and still you don't care and you just don't go. Because this is what we call avoidance. You start avoiding situations and people that are related to burnout, or that are related to your university or your workplace, the thing that is causing you to feel exhausted. And it's not just that, but it's not just avoiding people and avoiding the uni, but it's also starting to see only flaws and only negative sides of your friends, your professors, the place you study at. And everything starts to seem like too much. And that will actually cause you a lot of your relationships, especially that burnout is usually associated to people becoming irritable, like they get easily angry and annoyed, and that will alterate a lot of our relationships. And as I said, it's a progressive process that leads there. So it's important to really pay attention to these subtle changes before they compound, because it's a sort of that snowball effect that keeps compounding until you just find yourself drown in it. Okay, now that we have covered what burnout looks like, and you can really put your answer, your questions, so that we can answer them later if you have any questions about this part. We're moving to the second part, which is the cool part, about how to prevent it. Like, we don't want to get to that point where we are burned out, so we try to find ways to cope with it and to manage our stress effectively. So the first tool, which the foundation that we're going to build upon, is the chart of values. So values, and before starting, I want to mention that values and goals are totally different entities. So you can think of values as that North Star or that direction, while goals are just things that you can check. But values are more of a broad vision that guides you in the way. So values can be, and they are supposed to be broad, like they're not precise like goals. So values can be things like academic success is a value, happiness is a value, freedom is a value, creativity is a value, meaningful relationships are values, adventure, health, wealth, anything. Like, all these things are values. They are broad things, or broad visions that guide you through the way. So the chart of values is a different tool, like, unless the other tools that ask you to just rank your values or just give you a list of them and tell you to circle or whatever the most important ones. Here we go through real life scenarios to help us clarify what's important to us, because the whole point of this tool is to prioritize and to clarify what are the things that matter to us the most, because we will be planning our day and globally our life around them. So can you just type in the chat, because we're going to fill this one together. Any values that come to mind, it can be really anything that you think is important. And we're going to be filling it together. Okay, Maria, we just finished with recognizing burnout. If you want, during the Q&A, I can repeat or recap what we already said, and now we're going through the first tool. Okay, I'll just start. So here, we're going to fill whether this part or this part. First thing on, you can take a piece of paper or take just a mental note, but it's better to take a piece of paper so you don't forget anything. And then you start thinking about what are the values that you consider are as important. And you can write everything. You don't need to rank them. You just write them down. For example, you think that happiness is important, health is important. You think that academic success is an important value that has to be present in your life. You want meaningful relationships to be present in your life, or you want to direct your life about a creative life. I mean, all these values, you write them down. You can have 10, 15, whatever you have. Here I have just 8. So just to explain the concept, for example, I put here health, let's say academic success. I'll put here creativity, adventure. Well, I think you get the point. And here I'll repeat the same ones: academic success, creativity, adventure. You can put anything that is important to you. And now we go comparing them one by one. For example, I put myself in a real life situation. try to imagine it and feel it and be honest with myself. So the only two things that has to be done are to be honest and to give yourself time. Like, really take time to compare each one. Try to feel the situation you put yourself in and act as if you have to make a decision right now. For example, I don't know what health means to you or what academic success means to you, but in just an example to clarify things, for example, I have to revise because tomorrow I have an exam and I have a run at 5 p.m. So, and I have 2 3 courses that I haven't finished yet. And I know that if I go to that run, I won't be finishing them and I'd probably be sleeping after that. So, and I have to choose which one do I care about the most, and then put myself in that situation and say, if I am in that situation, what would I choose? And just write it down. And I repeat that with everyone. For example, I'll just be writing things randomly here. Okay, now we do the math. For example, here I have 2 for health and 2 for adventure and 1 for academic success. And saying that these are all I have, then health is my first priority, adventure is also my first priority, and academic success is my second priority. While doing that with all the value things, but the things that are important to you, comparing them, taking your time doing that, you will go and put them on a list. I mean, and these are your top 3 priorities. They are so important. Put them in mind because that will take us to the second tool to learn how to implement that in everyday life. Here it is. So, and as I said, you will be filling this part or this part. You don't have to fill both of them. And the tool number 2, I call yes or no game. So remember when we said imagine real life situations to fill the table or the chart of values? Well, that's pretty much it, but in real life situations, like not imaginary ones. First, I want to go through these 2 legends. So here on the right, we have, I mean, if you're not familiar with them, this is Courtney DeWalter. She is right now the best ultra runner of all time. She keeps breaking these records and winning races like over 100 plus miles, like over 160 kilometers, winning both male and female. And she's a very yes person. And she always say in her interviews that she loves yes people who say yes often. And on the other hand, we have on the right here, Eliud Kipchoge, the legend, the one who set the marathon record, the only man who ever run a marathon under 2 hours. And he had that famous, very famous quote, inject yourself with vitamin N, which stands for saying no, or learning how to say no. I chose these 2 people because they're both at the top of their game right now, and they seemingly have opposite approaches, but actually they are both saying the same thing, just articulating it differently. So if we can go back to that list of 3 top 3 values that we talked about, the whole point we said that we learn how to prioritize, like we crystallize our priorities, like, and that alone, before doing anything else, like knowing what is important to you, gives you instant mental clarity. Well, and that mental clarity, fortunately, gives us spare us from deciding. So the decisions, all our important decisions, were already made right now, because I know what's important to me, and all I have to do is just say the word. And that becomes a game because the decision was already made. So anything that is aligned with my priorities is a yes. Anything that is not aligned with it is a no. Let's say that you have these, okay, I'll give you an example because I think examples are the best way to understand things. So second trimester of the year was the hardest one for me. And it was very busy, and I have a huge, really huge amount of studies to do. And during the same trimester, I had the opportunity to dive into a training block for my first ever half marathon, which was at the time something really difficult for me. And that if I say yes, that means that I will add other workload and add some tasks to my already busy schedule. But I said yes because at the time it was aligned with my priorities. The same trimester and the same person who said yes, I had about like the chance to go to I don't know like how much, but it was over. I'm sure it was over 5 trips. They were all amazing trips, and they were people I care about with my family, and they were really amazing places. And it was easy to say no. Like I wasn't excited to say no to all of them. It was easy. Like the decision was easy because it was already taken, and I just said no because at that time any weekend or any time I have had to be directed or invested into whether studying or training or the other things that I cared about. But I learned how to prioritize. Like these are my priorities now. I know them. It's clear to me. I have a clear vision of what I want, and I have to invest my time, not spend it randomly. And that really removes a lot of mental fatigue. Like the decisions were already made. I don't have to just keep asking myself, did I make the right decision? Would I regret it later? Well, I didn't regret saying no to 5 amazing trips because I wasn't excited to say no, but I did it because the decision was already made. I mean, that's the point, to have a clear vision and act upon it and learn how to invest yourself in what's important and uh, go and make your decisions and any decision you make in alignment with what's important to you. And that goes to a lot of different decisions we make in our lives. For example, if health was important to me, like let's say health and academic success were my first 2 priorities, and I have to go out, for example, and I know that will cost me that, then I would say no, I will be Kipchoge at this point. If I have a challenge that I can learn from, that will be hard, but I would say yes because these challenges and these difficulties that I will be going through will be aligned with what I want from life or what I want right now. And I just want to get back to that because whatever the chart of values it is, it's not a one-time task, but you keep coming back to it every couple of months or even yearly if you want to readjust it because we change and our priorities change, and that's normal. But we need to just recheck it every now and then to make sure that our decisions always aligned with it. And finally, the third rule or the third tool, which is the 30 minutes rule, because, well, we are not always constantly taking these yes or no decisions, even though, well, we are to a certain extent, but there are not major events every day in our lives. So that's why we are trying to create some balance, even when life is just monotonous. And we get back to these 3 and we pick one and just one because we want to stick to it and we don't want to keep deciding every single day what to do with these 30 minutes. So we choose one, stick with it, and preferably choose one that is not academic success. Even if academic success is your first priority, then go pick another one. It can be anything. It can be a hobby. You can set yourself a goal. You can it can even be reading something that is not medical, or I mean it can be anything that you enjoy, and dedicate 30 minutes every single day to do it. Something that is not related to studies, and then dedicate 30 minutes to do it. And I'd recommend that you give 30 minutes of the morning before starting your day to that one thing, that one priority, whether it's a goal, a hobby, anything that you choose, because really the shift is amazing, like that you are already achieving something, that you are accomplishing something, and that feeling of fulfillment at the beginning of the day before even starting anything, it gives you an incredible push. Because if we can divide the tasks of the day, we have two major categories. The first one is things that we have to do. I mean, these are the urgent things. And then we have things that we get to do, which are the important things. Well, the important things are the things that are aligned with what matters to us the most, things that we love, things that we enjoy doing, things that we we love doing them. And the other things that are urgent, that you have to do them. I mean, you have to revise, or you have these deadlines and exams, and you have to, I don't know, like make the laundry, and you have to go shopping, and you have to do these things. And then you get to do other things. So honoring the things that are important to you before diving into the things that are urgent, because we don't want to be ignoring them, but we want to create that balance, that we are not sacrificing the people who we are, and we are not sacrificing things we love because we have other things to do. And 30 minutes is really nothing, but we are honoring these things that are important to us, and we are giving them time and energy so that we can go through the rest of the day feeling fulfilled and achieved. And that's really great. Well, I mean, if I can sum up the three tools, I would say it's first thing first, prioritize, like know what you want, have a clear vision of your direction, have a clear path in your mind, have a clear direction. And then after crystallizing that, prioritize, like make your decisions always revolve around what's important to you, what matters to you the most. And then learn how to give time to what's important. Like, other than the decisions you take that are aligned with that, try to create a balance between what you get to do and what you have to do. These are the three tools that are that I wanted to share. And I haven't introduced you to myself. I am Lamia Mchirgui. I'm a Tunisian fourth-year medical student. I love writing. I'm a bookworm, and I run for fun. And just a brief story about me, why I said yes. I mean, like the yes and or no game in the slides to animating this session. Well, 2 years, I mean, 2.5. I mean, that was halfway through my second year of studies. That was the time where I first started using these strategies. I was sedentary, I was overeating, depressed, I was a little bit overweight, and I would spend not less than 10 plus hours especially during exams, studying, doing nothing else but studying and crying. I still have terrible grades. Like, I have terrible grades. And then I just get introduced to that, which is chart views. And what's was that even though I was spending hours because I felt that if I go doing following this advice and given more time, even 30 minutes seemed impossible for me. Like, given time to these things that are not academic success means that the world is going to collapse. But I thought to myself, like, things couldn't get any worse. Like, I was feeling like a failure, and I just wanted something. So I started with very small things, and doing that, the time I spend studying gets really shorter, and my grades drastically changed. Like, right now, I spend not more than 2 to 4 hours every single day studying, and that includes exam season. Like, I never spend more than 4 hours a day studying, and my grades get like, they improved a lot. Like, really, I get way better results with literally less than half the effort, and I still have time to do other things that are important to me. And that's why I wanted to share this with you, because it really helped me so much. And I wanted to share these insights, things that I learned through 2+ years now, that can probably help you do the same and find some joy and fun in med school. Like, because at that time I would like blame med school for everything. Like, of course med school destroyed my life. I didn't know that I was the one standing like doing the things in the wrong way. And the shift was not really just academic, but it was more of an identity shift. I don't want to sound cliche, but I stopped being a med student and started to become a person who studied medicine. And that's totally different, because my self-worth and my self-esteem is not related to grades or exams. And I'm not putting my life on pause until I graduate. I learned how to say yes, and I learned a lot from the challenges, and I learned a lot of problem solving throughout the way. And I learned how to say no and protect my space, and set really healthy boundaries, and learned how to prioritize and invest my time rather than spending it. Like, and the difference is that before it was sacrificing. Like, if you ask me like 3 years ago, and I say that I didn't go to these trips, I would say that I sacrificed them for med school. Well, now I didn't sacrifice them for med school. I prioritized what is important to me. So that shift from sacrificing to prioritizing, and from spending time to investing time, that's really a major change. And I have a bonus slide, which is for the people who are interested, about or want to dive deeper. If you find that whatever we've been talking about resonated with you, I really highly recommend checking out acceptance and commitment therapy. I'll be putting the link to an article in the chat for the ones who want to check it out. It's really interesting. And you can see the similarities here. First time I read it, I was really mind blown, because I found myself really implementing that without knowing that there's something called ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, which is all about psychological flexibility. If we can really match it to what we were talking about, these two, which are noticing your thoughts and being present, is all about really noticing and recognizing the subtle changes or the first signs of burnout before they compound. And then we have this values. As I said, this technique of setting your values gives you just a chart where they put almost all the values that are probably important, and then they ask you to rank it from 1 to 10. And I think it's not really the best way to do things, because you can ask someone about their top 3 songs or favorite movies, and they will just black out. They forget that they even listen to songs or watch movies. But if you really compare them and put yourself in the real situation, that will actually help you, because that will be a bit realistic and practical, rather than just, okay, I'll put just numbers. That is not going to be really practical. And finally, committing to these values, making your actions all aligned to them. These two are about the flexibility, about when your decisions, the ones you make, and as we said, align with your values, are put you in a challenging situation. That's how you manage these challenges. And well, thank you for your time and attention. And if you have any questions about what we talked about, well, feel free to ask. About Maria, I said that I will be recapping. As I said, burnout is an institutional or occupational syndrome that is that causes mainly three manifestations. First, psychological, which is that feeling of constantly being in a bad mood or being sad, overwhelmed, feelings of guilt and questioning your self-worth start to creep in. And the second part of it is somatic or physical symptoms like headaches, gastrointestinal problems, infections that start to come more often. These like it can be neck pain or back pain, like these small physical symptoms that can also be manifestation of burnout. And finally, behavioral changes, like people start avoiding the situations and people related to the workplace or university or whatever it is, and the person becomes irritable. Um, that can cost people lots of friendships or relationships, and it can even get more dangerous, like it can lead to drug or alcohol abuse or even self-harm. That's why it's so important to notice the first signs and take action to manage that stress before it compounds and gets dangerous or alter the person's health. Any other questions? If you're trained to push through stress and keep going, how do you recognize the moment when we actually need to pause and protect our well-being? Well, that's absolutely a great question. Okay, that took me a lot to learn, and I'm still not an expert. Like I still make mistakes, but I think if we are like there's a difference between being drained and feeling excited or afraid. And that's why I said saying no to what's important, saying no to the things that is not aligned. And that really takes practice, but really there's a difference between being excited and being drained. And if you really, for example, after a long night of sleep, you still wake up tired every single day, you drain every single morning because you don't want to go there, and that like keeps happening constantly, because if you are pushed or you are